guys, it is John C. Morley here, serial entrepreneur. It is great to be with you on September 15th, 2024. Thank you so much for joining me. Again, my name is John C. Morley. I'm a serial entrepreneur, and you are tuned into Inspirations for Your Life, a daily motivational talk show to give you nuggets and insights to all kinds of great things. So whether you're here with me at 7:23 p.m., 7:23 a.m., I am so grateful that you're here with me. It is wonderful to be with you guys. Do check out my hat, believemeachieve.com, for more of my amazing, ladies and gentlemen, inspiring creations. I hope everyone's been having a wonderful weekend. And let's get right in with our master topic, shall we? All right. So we know the granular topic is basically the week's topic is the beauty of tonight's topic is the beauty of breaking, right? That's our whole series, right? The beauty of breaking. And tonight's granular is about recognizing the struggle. So when we think about recognizing the struggle, I think that can be something that I think trips a lot of people up because they don't necessarily know what that's going to be about or how it's going to work. But tonight we're all about recognizing the struggle. And so the first thing you have to do when you recognize the struggle is you have to be aware. That is the first step. You have to be aware of what's happening to you, what's going on, why it's going on. These are all key things that I think a lot of people miss, but they are key. And remember, if you're aware of something, then you can change it. But you first have to be aware of what's actually happening. That is really, really, really important. Okay, so the next thing, ladies and gentlemen, which is important as well, is identifying the root cause. So you have to dig deep in to find the source of your challenges. That might not be something that's, literally, I'm going to say, on the tip of your tongue. But the root cause is what allows us to probe. Once we know from the awareness, digging deep allows us to, again, isolate the source and really be able to encapsulate why the challenges are happening. Once we know what that root cause is, well, we can change it. A wise person once said, if we can measure it, we can change it. So many people are living a life that they're not happy with because they are constantly being bombarded with things and they think they don't have the ability to do anything. But the truth of the matter is they do. They just don't realize that we have to start by being aware. That is a very, very important thing. And when we think about being aware, it's something that you might say, John, I don't know what the heck you're talking about. But being aware is something that is, very, 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 very important, ladies and gentlemen. It is very, very important. So let's dive on to our next point, shall we? So our next point is embrace vulnerability. Let go of perfection and grow through your struggles. Now, according to Merriam-Webster, when we think of vulnerability, what is vulnerability? So, again, according to Merriam-Webster, adjective, vulnerable, capable of being physically or emotionally wounded, open to attack or damage, liable to increased penalties, but entitled to increased bonuses after winning a game. And I think the best way we can think about vulnerable is, maybe somebody who just broke up in a relationship and, they're right there and somebody else is flirting with them and it's like a rebound, right? They're very vulnerable. And so it's important that we don't abuse people when we know they're in that state. Whether it's a friend, whether it's a stranger, we know when people are vulnerable, right? And I always say that karma comes back to us. Whether we like it or we don't, what we serve out comes back to us. Just like in tennis, right? When you serve the ball, if you serve a great ball, okay, you're either going to score, right? But if you serve a great ball, they're going to be able to hit it back to you and hit it back to them. If you don't serve a great ball, well, then it's going to go out of bounds on the tennis court, and, well, you're going to basically be at a disadvantage. So embracing vulnerability is something that a lot of people talk about, but they don't necessarily know how to do it. So vulnerability is a noun, vulnerableness is a noun, and vulnerability is an adverb. So how do we protect our vulnerability? So you can give yourself compassion, avoid focusing on others, people's opinions, slow down if you need to, give up the mindset of perfection. You always want to get better, but give up the whole concept of being perfect. Be forthcoming with your needs, vocalize your feelings, and be in the moment. When we embrace vulnerability, other people start to realize, hey, he's human, she's human, and I get it. And so if we can do that, other people are like, wow, this person's like somebody that I can learn from, somebody I want to be around, right? So I think those are very key things, ladies and gentlemen, and really, really, really key things. But unfortunately, ladies and gentlemen, letting go of perfection and growing through struggles is something that some people think is a weak way. But actually, it's in that vulnerability that we become stronger. Now, I'm not saying to let all the doors down, to open all the gates. I'm saying to be a little vulnerable, right? So maybe, you want to share something with someone. Take a risk. You don't have to share the story that comes from, deep down the kitchen sink, but share something, and chances are they're probably going to want to share something with you. So again, the beauty of breaking, when we embrace vulnerability, other people want to be there for us. So again, let me say this again. When we are vulnerable, others want to be there. And so most people are respectful when you're vulnerable, okay? Most people appreciate it when people are authentic. And when they reveal something that makes them feel, as I said, vulnerable, it could be something in your past, as a childhood story. It could be something else that went on in your life. But the key is that you're telling somebody something about who you are. You're not trying to be anything or anyone. You're just trying to state what happened to you and share an experience. So I think those are important things, but I know that they cause complications, ladies and gentlemen. And the reason they cause complications is people don't understand the fact that being vulnerable and letting go of perfection and growing through struggles is one of the main keys in life. It's not the only key, but it is one of the big keys in life. All right, so now we know vulnerability is important. How about if we shift perspective? So we see challenges as opportunities for transformation, right? Our perspective. You might have heard me say before, the glass is half full, the glass is half empty. Do you see the glass half full as an optimist or half full as a pessimist? And so when we shift our perspective, okay, the world presents itself in a different way. How many of you out there have ever seen the number 6 or the number 9? Okay, what happens if I take the number 6 and I put it upside down, or you happen to look at it upside down like on a sign? Right? Looks like a 9. So when we look at something differently, we are able to perceive it differently. And thus, we get a different perception. And remember, ladies and gentlemen, perceptions create our reality. Perceptions create our reality. See, I think that's something that a lot of people don't get. But perceptions create our reality. And if perceptions create our reality, that means that if we shift just for a moment, right? If we shift for just a moment, the world can be different. The world can be different. And it will be different. Okay? But to give you some more background on this, perspective, according to Merriam-Webster, it's a mental view or prospect. To gain a broader perspective on the international scene is one example. A visible scene. The interrelation in which a subject or its parts are mentally viewed, the capacity to view things in their true relations or relative importance, the appearance to the eye of objects in respect to the relative distance and position. Okay. Also, the technique or process of representing on a plane or a curved surface the spatial relation of objects as they might appear to the eye. Representation in a drawing or painting of parallel lines as converging in order to give the illusion of depth. A picture in perspective. So, again, if we look at the number 6, right, and we flip the number 6, so we look at it upside down, right, that 6 looks like a 9. So, does that make sense, everybody, that, when we look at something, it's different? So, what are some other perspectives, differences, I should say, we get when we look at something two different ways? What are some of the perspectives? So, again, the angle, right? How many of you have ever been to a store and, you've seen scanners named holograms, right? So if you look at the image one way, you see one part of the hologram. If you look at it another way, you see another part of the hologram. We're thinking about perspective for a moment, right? If we shift our perspective for just a moment and we think about all the positives in life, our brain is going to focus on more positives. All I'm asking you to do, ladies and gentlemen, is shift your perspective. You don't have to shift it very long. You can just play the shift perspective game for a minute or two. You do this a couple times a day. You're going to find that it's going to stick. And your mind is going to be looking for that more positive perspective all the time. See, we can train our minds and train our bodies to do what we want. Right? So again, what are some differences similar to, the 6 or 9 picture? I think we can get perspectives from words, right? We can get perspectives by geolocation, okay? We can get a perspective on something before we even really work with it deeply, okay? So, when we think about perspective for a moment, right? A perspective is how we use our lens to see the world. Now, other people might see the world the same way, they might see the world differently. But this is the fuel. This is what motivates us to go get it. And you've probably heard this before, right? Perspective is our data that we're perceiving and thus associates to our hope. And that hope has enormous potential to cause great positive change. Let me see if I can give you an example. Maybe you made a new friend, okay? And maybe you're not sure how the friendship is going, but all of a sudden the person reaches out to you and asks you if you want to come over and study together. The perspective changed because you didn't know where it stood. And now the perspective that wants you to come over, it's like got you dancing, right, on eggshells. And so perspective is something we get every single day, right? If you want to know what I mean, if you close one eye, for example, don't do this while you're driving, okay? You're doing anything important. You'll look at the world one way. If you close the other eye, you'll look at the world another way. But here's something. If you take your finger, all right, and you bring that finger all the way in, just keep bringing it in, eventually that finger's going to become blurry, or you're going to see the finger as two. So you can start way out here. You guys can see what I'm doing. And I'm going to bring the finger in. And that finger, if you get too close, actually might double. So our perspective comes from the data that we have in the world which we've acquired from the past. Let me give you another one. Maybe you've been by a hot stove before, right? And maybe you have noticed it's gotten really hot, and your finger was very close to it. So it's very warm, and just as it's close, you yank the finger right back, right, so you don't get burned. Maybe you didn't exactly believe that or how that was working. Maybe you actually did burn your finger or a part of your body, just, like a singe or something. And then, oh my gosh, now I know that when I get near that flame or I get near this, I know, without a doubt, that it's probably going to hurt. I know that this is going to be unpleasant. And so our perspective then shapes the way we act in life, like pulling your hand back and things like that, right? That knee-jerk reaction. So this is where these knee-jerk reactions come from. They come from us, all right? They come from us in our choice of how we are and how we learn things from the world. Some things we learn easily, some things we don't. Now, I want to share something. A lot of people get frustrated. Take small steps, right? Rome wasn't built in a day. Progress is built on consistent small actions. So, I'd rather see you take small, consistent actions daily than to take one big giant step on day one, and even for the whole week, and then on day 7 or day 8, you start taking a lot less steps, and now you're like off on. So stay consistent, and when you do this, the small steps, the small wins are going to make you want to take the next, let's say, step, but to celebrate the next milestone. This is why I always tell you, if something seems complicated, don't panic. Break it into small tasks. And when you do this, just worry about solving one task. So let me give you another example. So you guys know I left for Florida to visit my parents in Naples just this morning, and I had a lot to do before I left. Okay, I went to bed probably around 12, 1 o'clock, and then I got up at 3 a.m. When I had a lot to get done, I told you about the power of writing lists. Well, my perspective of things seems easier, seems more doable when it's on paper and I get to scratch something off or I get to X something up. That's a good feeling, and that small step encourages me to take another, right? Maybe you're on a walk or a jog, and you take those steps, and you start taking a couple steps. So the long journey or the, let's say, long roadway to success starts with the first step. You can never begin a journey if you don't take the first step. You can never get successful if you don't make the first action. But take a small action. You don't need to build the Taj Mahal overnight. And these consistent actions over time will actually work with your body's neurology and nervous system to get your body to perform in a way that is less stressful and a way that is going to be motivated because of your intrinsic and extrinsic factors, which we've talked about in other shows. So now, when we think about that, I want to talk about something else that's important. You may be like, hey, John, I don't know what I'm doing. I have no way I'm going to do this. No problem. Seek support. Now, these could be friends. These could be other colleagues, other associates. These could be people from, some advisory group. Maybe it could be a special support group. Could be your parents, other relatives, right? It could even be things like myself, like online motivational speakers, going to a library, maybe reading a book. And so these things, when we start to realize that this one task is now doable, it gets us excited. So I'm going to share something. So I started doing something new last night. I'm not going to share what it was, but I started doing something new for my production, and it's been amazing. It's been saving me a lot of time. And so when I figured out how to do something and I got it to work, first thing I said to myself is, okay, I may not have the time to get this to work, but I'm just going to play with it. If it doesn't work, no big deal, try it at a time. I started having that attitude was if it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. I'll just do it another time. And you know what? It fell into place. I was able to cut a half the time of recording my J Moore Tech Reels. So our perception is important. Getting support is important because when we get support, that actually helps de-stress us and it actually helps put up the support structures that we need, okay, to, let's say, guide us this way or that way. So support is like bumpers, but like polite bumpers that'll kind of keep us on track. Now you can get support that's a little bit more curt if you need that. That type of support is where somebody's kicking you in the butt, now not literally, but they're telling you to get off your butt and do something because maybe you're a procrastinator. I don't know. So seeking support, ladies and gentlemen, is a very, very vital thing. I can't encourage you to do that enough. So lean on your community and your loved ones and your resources like books, videos, keynote speakers like myself, etc. Now I have one more topic in regard to wrapping up this whole master topic today about the beauty of breaking, and that's this. Celebrate growth. I don't care if you're writing software. I don't care if you're doing exercises. I don't care if you're trying to get healthy. I don't care if it's a new relationship you're forming. I don't care what it is. Or maybe you're building something else. Celebrate the small wins. Maybe when you get the small win, maybe you buy yourself something. Maybe you get a reward that you normally don't give yourself. And that little reward, even though it's minor, is going to be like, hey, I like working for him. I like doing this because, hey, I'm treated well. And when we're treated well, we get rewards. I think some people set up rewards that are out there, but they make the promise too hard and they get frustrated. So let's celebrate every part of our journey. If we're Monopoly, we passed go, let's celebrate that we passed go. If we went around the board, even though we didn't get anywhere, but we went around the board once, let's celebrate we went around the board once. If we're in the game and, you know, we've landed on a property, let's celebrate the fact that nobody owns it yet, and I don't have to pay anybody money, and I can actually buy that property if I want. You get the idea? Let's celebrate the small things in life. Because everyone I know always wants to celebrate the big dinners. Hey, John, we can't celebrate. We don't have it open yet. We have a grand opening. We didn't get written up yet. We didn't make this yet. We didn't make the money yet. We didn't get the staff yet. We didn't get the project yet. Okay, stop. What do you have? Oh, you're in business at church. You have great staff. You have good clients. You have a good vision, good mission. Right? And you hopefully have compassion and you have a passion for what you do. And so let's start celebrating things at a very micro level. And as the things get bigger, well, we can celebrate those too. But let's not keep ourselves prisoners to saying, hey, I can't celebrate because I didn't achieve the whole promise. Did you achieve some of it? Did you take consistent action every day? Did you get further than where you were yesterday? If you did, great. Let's celebrate that. So take your big projects and put them into small tasks. Something as simple as me having to do 12 or 14 things. Now, it doesn't sound like a lot, but sometimes you can get distracted, right? But when it's on paper, it's like your mind's clicking to say, all right, I know I got to do this. And then I just go back, and it's amazing. I just kept clicking, just kept scratching them up. And I felt so good when I was able to do that. Ladies and gentlemen, do you know who I am by now? Well, if you don't, I'm going to tell you. I am Mr. John C. Morley, serial entrepreneur. It has been such an amazing, of course, you know, privilege, pleasure, and honor to be with you this fantastic September 15th, 2024. Do check out BelieveMeAchieve.com for more of my amazing, inspiring creations, ladies and gentlemen. And I'll catch you real soon. Thanks so much, everyone, and be